This is Assistant Chief Frank Blackley of the Wilmington, North Carolina Fire Department. Community risk reduction. What is it and why is it important from an operational standpoint? We began this journey in 2008 when Vision 2020 held their national conference to reduce fire loss. One of the 5 strategies identified involves the operations side of the department to focus more on fire and injury prevention. This concept has been validated in the United Kingdom to reduce fire loss, injuries, and death. Who knows more about risk in their first-in response area than the company officers themselves? Our first chance to implement this concept was through a grant from the Washington State Association of Fire Marshals, where more than 1,500 smoke alarms were installed in high-risk areas of Wilmington. The following year, we participated in another grant through the University of Washington and Centers for Disease Control to install additional smoke alarms, but also identified 4 fire stations to implement individual risk reduction plans based on the risk in their first-in response area. Numerous risks were identified and prioritized. A plan was developed and implemented for the most effective impact on the community. We're standing on the bow of the USS North Carolina Battleship Memorial, dedicated to the more than 10,000 North Carolinians who lost their lives during World War II. You may ask, what does this have to do with risk reduction? Charles Oda was a machinist mate 2nd class, and his battle station during general quarters was a compartment in the starboard aft section of the ship. If the ship was torpedoed during battle, his duty was to open a particular vent valve for counterflooding measures using a long, heavy wrench. He noticed a problem with the original design after crew's bunks and lockers were installed. The lockers greatly reduced his ability to open the valve. Oda designed a valve extension attachment, and it was approved by the engineering office and fabricated by the ship's welders. On September 15, 1942, the battleship was struck by a torpedo, and thanks to the valve extension, Oda was able to help in quickly counterflooding the ship. This example of taking ownership is no different than a company officer seeing a problem and finding a solution.
Hello, I'm Chief Buddy Martinette of the Wilmington Fire Department in Wilmington, North Carolina. I don't think anybody would argue the fact that the nature of our world is changing, and those changes are coming at such a fast pace that it's difficult for us in emergency services to get ahead of them. The globalization of the world, the way things are changing make it very difficult for even fire prevention staffs to get together and form and complete projects that are identified for different communities. It changes so fast that actually entire communities can change within a community overnight. And therein lies a problem, because those individual communities have problems that are individual to those different people that are in them. And I think that another aspect that we are concerned about here in the Wilmington Fire Department, and one of the things that we're trying to do, is push our service operations down to the company level, because we actually believe that the company officers and the firefighters that are at the engine company level understand their communities better than anybody. I think community risk reduction strategies and community risk reduction in general brings these things together. When the change occurs in those individual communities, the company officers are the first ones that see those. When those risk profiles changes, the company officers are the first ones that get a sense for the fact that something needs to change to eliminate those risks or to reduce those risks. CRR allows our individual engine companies to design programs specific for those particular communities, and those needs can be wide ranged across the whole fire department. The things that are done in one engine company's areas certainly are not appropriate for the other, which was kind of the old model for how we did fire prevention. We created programs, we sent them out to the community, and then those programs, we tried to put the round peg in the square hole sometimes in each one of these communities. And I think CRR really will help us design these programs for the individual aspects of what's happening in those communities and the risks that are associated with those people that live in those communities.
What you will now see and hear are examples from our firefighters, company officers, and the community to try and reduce risk. The most exciting part of the entire process is that the individual companies and shifts brainstormed the ideas and took ownership to try and solve the problems. The ideas came from them, not staff. That is why it's so important for community risk reduction to begin at the company level.
Station 4, located in the city on Wallace Avenue. C-Shift's focus was forging a partnership with a local elementary school.
My name is Sarah Kendrick. I'm a firefighter with the City of Wilmington, Station 4. We were actually responding to an alarm here at Winter Park a few years ago in the middle of the night, and in talking to the key holder, who ended up being part of the administrative staff, we got to talking about how the school year was going and if they needed anything, and the administrator actually initially said they were looking for reading books, which I was surprised. We were all surprised because we figured, you know, every school has everything they need to get their stuff done during the day, but she wanted reading books to send home with the kids so that they could keep. Further along in the conversation, we also found out that they take care of 100% of the students' school supplies, which means they don't ask anything of the parents. Money is budgeted in for supplies, but a lot of it falls on the shoulders of the teachers. So me and my captain kind of looked at each other dumbfounded, and were amazed at the fact that this is going on not only in this city but just probably over the nation, with the budget shortfalls and everything like that. So a little seed was planted that night, and a few months later we actually started the CRR program within the department, which was perfect because we could do something good but also tie in fire and life safety to the program. Basically all we did was, first we got the blessing of the chief. Wanted to make sure everything was good to go on that, which it was. We basically just started small and printed out flyers. We visited all the stations in the department on every shift, just getting the word out as to what we were looking for. In the span of a month, I'm proud to say we made a huge showing, and 99.9% of the donations that were made were from within our department, which was amazing to me, and it said a lot about us as firefighters and how much we step up when somebody's in need. The first delivery, we had a very warm reception from the teachers, which was almost a humbling experience to think that, you know, something as small as pencils and glue and things like that makes such a huge difference for them, or at least takes a lot of the burden off their shoulders. We just finished our second year with it. Once again, made a great showing. Totally pleased with the outcome. We had a little bit more community involvement this time, but once again, a lot of it was from within the department, the employees, the families, the staff. From top to bottom, everybody really helped out with this.
My name's Monica Goza, and I'm the principal at Winter Park Elementary School, and on the behalf of my students and staff, we want to thank Station 4, Fire Department, City of Wilmington for all that they do in terms of supporting our families through the collection of supplies. Each year, schools across our nation are asking parents to donate or bring in supplies for their children. But here at Winter Park, we have a different philosophy. We don't ask our children for supply money, field trip money, yearbook money, money for field trips, money to pay for a t-shirt, because we believe in creating what we call an emotionally safe learning environment. We want the level, the playing ground for all students so that they come in and they can concentrate on instruction and building relationships with one another and our staff. What we have found is that by removing the pressure on families to provide for their children financially, that we have created a greater sense of classroom community where everyone really supports one another, and it's really the success about all children, not just the children who come from families that have. And so we don't have haves and have-nots. We're a school where everyone watches out for everyone, and you all do that each year by supporting us through this drive that you do. And I'm pleased to announce I've been asked if the firefighters can have lunch with our students this year, and we are very excited about that mentoring possibility. Just your role model, your presence as community leaders and as adults that have something to offer our children is another component we get to add on and another way to increase our partnership with Station 4. So I'm very thankful.
Station 5 on the west edge of Wilmington responds to a Level 2 trauma center, a major tank farm, and an international shipping port.
I'm Kevin Cowan, the safety officer at the North Carolina State Ports Authority.
I'm Captain Donald Ragovich, Engine 5, Wilmington Fire Department.
The Port of Wilmington has two primary businesses. We are a container port and we also are a general cargo port. The containers are 20-foot to 40-foot long unitized material, and they are moved usually in high volume. Today we happen to be working some rail in the general cargo side, so the rail that goes on a railroad is being discharged today. We have found that a lot of the partnerships that we form, including the one with the fire department, has been incredibly helpful. We recently did a Stokes basket training with Captain Rags, and within a week of receiving the training, we had an injury requiring a Stokes basket, and we had the person stabilized and on the dock ready for him upon his arrival. Right. So partnerships and working together and doing pre-plans is really, really helpful as a community member to help support the mission of the fire department.
Station 3 responds to emergencies in a mostly residential zone. Among other things, this station focused on making sure all families are fire safe.
My name is Captain Darren McDowell. I'm with the City of Wilmington Fire Department. I'm stationed at Station 3 on Princess Place Drive, which serves this area right over here at the Cottages at Cornerstone. On one Saturday morning about 7:30, we were dispatched over to a home right here at the Cottages at Cornerstone for what had came in as a structure fire. And upon arrival, these were sprinkled, the homes were sprinkled, and we found that the fire was out. But in our investigation after the fire, we found out that there was a fire extinguisher in the home, but the owner of the home was not familiar with how the fire extinguisher was to be used. Well, we thought it was very important that since they had the extinguisher, that she understood the proper usage of it. So we partnered up with the Habitat for Humanity to try to do some fire prevention and fire extinguisher training for not only her, but all the homeowners in the community. While the grown-ups had training with the use of fire extinguishers, we thought it was important to also incorporate the children because a child was involved in the home. And so we came up with activities and games for them to help them to understand and appreciate the need for fire safety and fire prevention. And one specific activity that we implemented with them was where we talked with them about leaving the home and going to a safe location and practicing this in advance and making sure that everyone in the family knew the place, the safe location, and the need to be there in case of a fire in the future. Completing the circle is basically, the circle began with us being dispatched to the fire and then seeing the need for the fire extinguisher training and then partnering with another entity in the community, Habitat for Humanity, and making it work by coming over and doing some fire extinguisher training, as well as incorporating the young ones. And so we feel that we've basically completed the circle. We saw a problem, we addressed the problem, and we educated the homeowners in the community about how to solve the problem and ultimately prevent the problem from happening in the future. Community risk reduction speaks for itself. It means getting out, being involved in the community, being active, being seen, talking to our neighbors and our friends and helping them to appreciate the importance of fire prevention and fire education.
Station 8 is located in a mix of commercial and residential properties. When a fire occurred in a neighborhood few miles from their station, here's how they incorporated CRR.
Hello, my name's Ken Bogan. I'm a captain in the Wilmington Fire Department Fire and Life Safety Division, and I was one of several people that helped with the Community Risk Reduction Program when it was brought on board in 2011 in our fire department. In Station 8, we have Rescue 8 and Engine 8. There were several residential neighborhoods that the crews targeted. They went and hung flyers on all the doors in the neighborhoods announcing a smoke alarm program. It encouraged the homeowners or residents to call the fire station. The firefighters could come out and test existing smoke alarms or install smoke alarms if there were none present. Unfortunately, in the particular neighborhood that we're going to discuss, nobody in that entire neighborhood made a phone call. As a matter of fact, our folks would go down the street and hang the flyers, and by the time they would come back up on the other side of the street, they would notice that the flyers were off the door, but they really weren't just getting any kind of response from the residents that were inside. Approximately 6 months after that canvass, we had a pretty substantial fire in this neighborhood. There was a single occupant in the home at the time of the fire. She was asleep. It was an unattended candle that started the fire, and she had no operational smoke detectors. The fire had spread significantly and it blocked her primary route out of the house. Once she finally woke up due to the smell and the noise that the fire was making in the house, she tried to exit from her bedroom only to walk into a wall of flame and smoke. She very quickly closed her door. The only other way out of the house at that point was a bathroom window that was approximately 4 to 5 feet off of the floor. And this lady was able to get outside through that window, but she did suffer moderate injuries. After that fire was extinguished and the investigation was complete, it was determined through both the investigation and with discussing with the occupant that there were no operational smoke detectors in the home. Engine 8 and Rescue 8, as well as myself, were very disappointed because they had worked very, very hard to canvass this neighborhood to try and correct that issue. So we got together and found more smoke alarms that were still left, and in a very short period of time after the fire, the crews volunteered and went back out and re-canvassed the entire neighborhood. This time with completely different and very pleasing results, where we had probably 50 to 75% of the homes that responded either with questions or a direct request to come out and install or to check the smoke alarms in their home.
Station 4's A and B shifts decided to combat their regular trips to UNCW's campus by creating cooking and fire safety videos and brochures. Engine 4 B shift, Captain Kiefer and Dale Lamb.
When presented with the task of community risk reduction, we had one large concern and one issue. Our biggest concern was getting students out of the dormitories. We've had a couple incidents where we were having problems, and one of our big issues was cooking-related incidents. It ended up being like a joke that, you know, you come here to learn everything except for learning how to cook. So that's where our project began, and then later to focus on getting the students out. And with the help of UNCW, UNCW students and Airmark, which is the food provider for UNCW, we were able to come up with an idea of doing some videos on how to cook, the safety hazards on cooking, and then we were able to incorporate the idea of, you know, once there is an alarm in the building, to get out and stay out. We worked with, as far as fire and life safety, with the Wilmington Fire Department, Engine 4, UNCW Environmental and Safety, UNCW PD, and the Student Services on campus, and Airmark, which is the private contractor for UNCW. Engine 4 starred in our videos as far as the fire department goes, but all the students, they came up with the ideas. We gave them a little bit of direction, and it was totally their idea, their script, and their productions. Our cooking related incidents are down, but definitely our public relations and our contact has grown to our benefit. The nice thing about the videos is that they pretty much encompass everybody. They're not just for, you know, college students, but for the general public as well. Mm-hmm.
I'm Wendy Giannini, Fire and Life Safety Educator with the Wilmington Fire Department. Educators and company-level firefighters are a natural partnership and vital to the success of CRR. When operations personnel and educators coordinate efforts within the community, we deliver effective and targeted education and ultimately mitigate risks. The CRR projects we highlighted for you in this video are only a sampling. The truth is, the possibilities for community risk reduction ideas are endless. As a list of project ideas that we used or thought of using scrolls, imagine the possibilities of your station mitigating risks through targeted outreach that is CRR. Developing community partnerships is necessary and provides an opportunity for firefighters and educators to build new relationships that ultimately improve the quality of life. CRR can only be accomplished by getting out of the fire station and into the community and allowing operational personnel the ability to make decisions based on the risks in their response area. A risk reduction plan is not static and can be changed based on the risks determined by the company officer and their crew. Pushing the risk reduction decision-making process to the station level improves customer service and elicits buy-in from the line. Feel free to contact us in Wilmington with any questions.